function is like you can buy stuff on Alibaba, you can buy stuff on Temu. It's all over the place, right? And it's the companies that are, I mean, as we know, everything, almost everything now is made in China.
Yeah.
So eventually it's going to trickle into our
Yeah.
gyms. I think it's important to understand what you're putting in the gym, the quality of stuff you're putting in the gym. I think Life Fitness is made in China.
Yeah.
I mean, all that stuff, everything
Yeah.
is being.
It's been an interesting process of watching the transition happen towards the Chinese production. Tom Eilerman, the designer of Nebula, he was working with TKO doing his line of stuff, and he talked about having the production done in China. And he was of the opinion that if you take the time and find the right production site, the right manufacturer, the quality on it is very good. And he's thought highly of it. And that's one of the guys that was making some of the original, American super heavy duty, well-designed equipment.
And I think that, that everything, especially if you want like a new glute piece out there, everything, booty builder, glute builder, I mean, all that stuff, they're all making it over there. And I think it's important. It's, people took my video as like, oh, it's all Chinese made. No, it's like, I get it. But in the same breath, like, there's a lot of garbage out there. And we're seeing it just flood our page. It's hard to decipher what is good and what is bad because everyone's just knocking off every other piece. Some of it's thin gauge steel, some of it looks like thick grade steel, and then you look at the actual mechanics of it, and you look at how it's welded, and you look at the bearings, and they're just grindy.
But what draws me to the old stuff is the guys that were making it were deeply involved in lifting and bodybuilding, so they were passionate about what they were doing. They knew what they wanted it to do. They knew how they wanted it to feel, and they were craftsmen. They were making the stuff here. It was smaller operations, so obviously the expenses in that are going to be significantly higher, and that's probably part of why there's less of it now. Much more of the mass production, getting the huge contracts from the big box gyms. So it's a different thing, but I think people that can appreciate the quality of the older machines are still seeking that out, and it's getting more popular now.
There are some companies like Iron Core, Rogers Athletics, right? They're all made here in the United States, American Steel, but you're going to pay a premium. You're going to pay a premium for it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm willing to. Like we were talking about, our gyms are different, right?
Yeah.
We have to be really picky and choosy of what we want to put on our gym floor. I mean, I can't just put a bolt piece on my floor, right? I mean, they may have a good piece of everything. I didn't really have a great opinion of a lot of their stuff, right? But even if they made a good piece, I don't know that I would put it because there's a certain image we've created with our gyms. There's a certain look, feel, and culture that we've created with it that we have to be really picky of not just putting any piece on our floor. And I think that's what it comes down to. So if we're bringing in new stuff, it better be pretty darn good.
Yeah, no, I agree. And part of the draw for me with the old equipment is a lot of it you look at and you just want to get on it and work.
Right.
And a lot of the new stuff, I don't get that same feel of because it looks cheaper or it's too fancy or it's flimsy, maybe overly complex. I like the simpler machines. People are going to use them more. And I just like the feel of the heavier old school machines.
Yeah, I mean, when I went to the FHA show, I looked at Panada. They're innovating. They're doing some cool stuff. I don't know that I would want a lot of that on my floor. There are a couple of pieces that I really enjoyed using, but they're so complex. The footprints are huge. They're so fancy that I'm sure they're great pieces and they felt pretty good, but the complexity of some of them and just the overdoneness of them. It's like,
in the smaller gyms, we have to be very mindful of the footprint of the machines.
Right.
And then you also have to make it so that it's a machine that people can get on and figure out pretty quickly because people will just not use the machine if it's too complex.
Like the Panada multi-back machine, it was cool. I mean, it felt great, but I'm just looking at all the moving parts on it, and then you having this 8-foot cage of rails moving, and I'm just thinking, someone's going to walk into it, someone's going to break off a piece, someone's going to slam it down hard enough, and now I'm waiting 8 weeks for a piece from Italy. And then it's a great piece, and I got to give them credit. They say that people are innovating, they're trying to innovate, but at the same point, it's not practical for at least our gyms. Like we don't have the floor space, especially I'm getting bigger, and I still don't have the floor space to give 70 square feet or 80 square feet to a piece of equipment, one piece of equipment.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Who else do you think is of the old school pieces? You and I have very similar taste. Why do you think the flex stuff is some of the most sought after?
It's a good question. To me, the designs are very clean. They're very effective. They're very high quality, very well built. They're aesthetically very pleasing. So those are all factors. The mechanics of the machines, the resistance is right. So they're just, the flex leverage line is, in my opinion, maybe the best line, or it's got to be one of the top that was ever put out.
Right.
It's just everything in it's super, and so there's a lot of the variables that go into it.
One of the things I love about the old school pieces, and sometimes it's a pain in the butt if the cable snaps, and you have to oh, I can't find this fitting. I think I sent it to TK Star and
Yeah.
had him kind of, make me a custom cable. Some of it we can retrofit, but I love the fact that if one of those pivot points on a break, we can just pick up another one of those
Yeah.
and bolt them on. And that's another thing I think with some of the Chinese stuff,
Yeah.
you're not bolting on. You're not going to the metal supply store
Yeah.
or to the hardware store and buying a new hinge or pivot point to kind of put on there.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you do?
Yeah,
You know,
and that is a nice part about the old machines is most of it's just standard industrial hardware that you can replace. That you can get new ones. It's built to be for heavy use, so most of them don't break anyway. But if it does, yeah, you can replace it with a standard piece rather than some proprietary piece that they made for that machine that you're going to have to probably go to them to get.
When we look at some of the newer stuff out there, you feel the difference. And I got on some of the Chinese stuff that's just straight up mass manufactured, not a good. And you get on a leg press or a hack squat, and it feels super light, and then you just hear this, almost like the bearings
The
are
creaking.
Yeah, it's shh, and it's so light. You're like, what is this? When you're used to doing an old school
Yeah,
American machine that's built on thick guide rods and
Yeah.
all the bearings and bushings.
yeah, and some of the newer machines I don't like with the lighter gauge steel, where you can actually feel the machine flexing and moving while you're this tubing bending and flexing while you're using it. I'm not a fan of that.
Especially with gyms like ours where we have some pretty strong people in them. And I've seen some of the videos of dudes loading up, 8 plates on a pendulum squat and just having it just
Yeah.
snap off and
Yeah.
all that other stuff. It's not going to be a good fit. I think that, in general though, the industry's definitely shifting, and you as a collector of old stuff, I posted that video earlier in the week of people, in China reproducing full-on Cybex. They look exactly.
Yeah.
Even the paint scheme was the same, kind of
Yeah.
almost textured paint they had on the Cybex, and the stickers. And my whole point was yeah, it's a knockoff, but they're putting actual Cybex stickers on
Yeah.
it, and that's where I drew the line. It wasn't that they were reproducing a cool old Smith machine like the Cybex that moved out.
Yeah.
It's that they put a Cybex sticker on it.
Yeah.
And people are commenting, going, "Oh, just because you like to collect old stuff and your butt hurt that your stuff's not going to be worth as much anymore, and no one's going to be able to tell." I'm like, well, yeah, kind of, but it's not a Cybex. It's like a Cybex. It's inspired. But what was your take on it? Because I was surprised how many people thought I was overreacting to the fact that they were pretty much making clones and not differentiating.
To me, the sophisticated consumer of strength equipment will be able to tell the difference between the knockoffs and the originals, and that's probably mainly what matters. And the collectors, it's just like old cars. You can have the clone or the original, and the people that are really collecting it, that are investing in them, will seek out the original
Right.
stuff.
And some people are going to get tricked.
Yeah.
Some people are going to think they're going to buy the
Yeah.
original and they're going to grab
Yeah, I'm sure that'll happen. I guess one question I have about it is how they're getting around any kind of trademarking or patent issues.
Yeah.
And I know Cybex is no longer operating,
They're owned by Life Fit.
but I believe they're owned by Life Fitness, who I would assume would protect that trademark.
Well, I don't know, man. At the FHA show, I'm at the Life Fitness Hammer Strength booth, and there is a booth right there that had literal Hammer Strength knockoffs right next to it. And Hammer Strength's not going over there
Yeah.
and saying anything to them. And I've heard you can't sue Chinese companies because they don't really follow American laws with that type of stuff. But I still don't know how they're allowed to sell them here.
Yeah, I don't,
They can make them, but I don't understand where the disconnect is. That they're sitting at a show.
yeah,
I mean, one of those companies, they knocked off every Panada piece, and then they knocked off some other old school, but to the T, they knocked off every Panada piece, 100 feet away from the Panada booth.
yeah. I don't understand that.
I don't understand how it works. I get if it works, it works. Like in full disclosure, like I'm expanding my gym and I'm looking at, putting in some functional trainers, right? Just for my, I don't care what brand it is. I don't, as long as it works and it functions, it's just an accessory piece that's going to be in the corner of the gym for people to use. But with some of these main pieces, it's just very. I think there's a certain look, a certain feel you need to have if you're really going for it. And I think people who would open up a gym and just put fake Cybex stuff in there and try
Yeah.
to trick people, I don't get that mentality of being a gym owner. So
Yeah, I don't know. But we both appreciate the old stuff, so we're looking at it probably differently. But
I appreciate taking me through that workout today. That was freaking awesome. And yeah, man, I think what we're doing is on the right track in the industry
yeah,
right now. So
love what you're doing. Thank you for coming up, Danny.
yeah, man, I appreciate you a lot. Thank you.
Appreciate you.